Okay. Hello, today is Friday, April 19th, 2024, and I am here at Rocky Mountain Regional VA Medical Center in Aurora, Colorado. My name is Suzanne Behrens, and I am interviewing Martha Baker as a part of the VA Remembering Our Veterans program. Welcome, Martha.
Thank you.
So we'll start off with a few questions about your early childhood and your kind of formative years. What can you tell me about your childhood, like maybe where you were born, where you grew up, and your early education?
I was born in Hazelhurst, Georgia, but I grew up in New Jersey. And one of the times I remember my 10th birthday, I was struck by an automobile, which I survived that.
Thank
I was
goodness.
bitten by a dog, but there were good things. I was also able to visit New York's 1937 World's Fair, visit my great-grandmother in New Haven, Connecticut. She lived on Dixwell Avenue, about several blocks away from Yale University. I recall that, especially the fact that she was 96 and working every day, climbing stairs, and still allowing me to visit her from New Jersey while she worked. And it was perfectly safe in those years to think something like that could happen.
Okay, and what about schooling? Where did you go to school?
I attended school in Belleville, New Jersey, graduated from Belleville High, decided I wanted to become a nurse. And I found that the Army had a program, Cadet Nurse Corps. I applied for it, but I was not qualified. At that time, this is the late 30s and 40s, they didn't take blacks into the
That's
program.
terrible.
Right. It was like Benjamin Davis going to West Point, the only one at 4 years. So anyway, it was a blessing that I was refused admission. I found that I should work in order to save money to become a nurse. I worked for 6 months, saved $600, and
Wow.
working $30 a month. And I was asked, why don't you work longer? You'll have more money. And I found that in Jersey City Medical Center, $600 was sufficient for me to enter the program, uniforms, medicine, everything. And at that time of my schooling, I was on the 14th floor, and what sticks out in my mind is I could raise my shade, and there between me and New York was the Statue of Liberty. To this day, I've never visited the statue. And graduated from nursing, worked for $78 2 weeks, and I thought maybe this is better, something better. At the medical center was a tuberculosis hospital. I requested a transfer there, met 3 nurses who were on their way to New York to sign up for Air Force or Navy. I asked them to bring me an application. Came back, it was Army. I said, I didn't want to join the Army. They said, Army requires only 1 year's service, but the others want 4. So I said, I'll try it. And for the rest of my life, it was the best decision I could have made, was that I found that I should join the Army with the intention of remaining 1 year. Before I knew it, 20 had passed.
That's wonderful. Now I have an additional question, Martha. Why did you want to be a nurse?
Well, maybe the first reason was at that time it wasn't easy for blacks to find employment. Mm-hmm. And I thought that would be something that I would like, helping others. In addition to that, it would always a need. And that was my choice. And a friend of mine lived next door. We were the same age, but she was ahead and in college. When she left for college, she arranged for me to have her job, that's living in and taking care of children. But it was the best choice I could have made to this day, being a part of the United States Army.
So that's wonderful. And where did you enlist at then?
I'm from New Jersey, and I enlisted in New Jersey, asking for California. I thought I'd like to go to Letterman.
Oh, yeah.
And it was in December, and I thought, that's so far from New Jersey. I asked to change. They said, okay, you can extend another year, and we'll let you go to Germany. And that really closed all doors for anything except the Army, because I was in Germany 1 month, and I met the man that I married years later. 3 years later, we were married, and I found out he was from Grand Island, Nebraska. That's why I'm in Colorado today, because of meeting him and marrying in San Francisco.
Well, that's wonderful. So actually, Martha, you didn't intend to join the Army. It just kind of happened to you, more or less, right?
Absolutely.
You were going to join, and the Army was it. And how did you like the Army? Once you were in and you got a little settled and figured out how things worked, how did you like it? Did you like it right away, or kind of grew on you?
Well, even though I joined, I can't say I joined because of the uniform. That's why I would have joined the Navy or Air Force, because the uniform was done by Hattie Carnegie.
Oh.
We had Eisenhower jackets, and it wasn't anything that I really loved about the uniform. But what I did find was 1 month later, I'm on a plane flying Tigers, 2 propellers from LaGuardia to Shannon, Ireland, to Germany, to Kaiserslautern. And as it would happen, I'm there 1 month, and I met this tall, good-looking, handsome man who walked out of his BOQ, and I thought, may I take your picture? I had a cardboard Kodak camera, which I use to this day, never dreaming that I even ever see him again. And so that, from there, after meeting him and finding out that, the Army, it was really worth
The
exploring.
Army really wasn't so bad after all.
Absolutely not.
And so what year did you join?
I joined in 1951. I finished school in February of 51. I joined in November of 51.
And you stayed in for how long?
Until November of 71.
So full 20 years.
Pardon?
A full 20 years. And where did you
Absolutely.
go? Where were your assignments? Where all did you go, Martha?
My first assignment was when I decided California was too far away in December from New Jersey. Mm-hmm. They said, what about Fort Dix? And I said, yes, that's in my backyard. Yeah. And I was at Fort Dix. From Fort Dix, I went to Germany. And from Germany...
Where at in Germany did you
go? I was at 2nd General Army Hospital. It wasn't quite complete when I arrived there, but it was across the Autobahn from Landstuhl and Ramstein Air Base. And it was a complete new world for all that was happening to me. Every day was an adventure. Pardon?
I was in Landstuhl at 2nd General Hospital, and by the time I got there, it was all built up, and it was the biggest medical center there.
Yeah.
And so that's great. So when you got there, it was brand new. They had just finished building it?
They were completing part of it, yes. It was not...
And did you meet any German people or try any German food?
No, not really. I was so busy, I can't remember what I did, but I didn't. You mean, did I meet German?
Like go out on the economy, like you work in the hospital and maybe you get off of work or you take a weekend, you go with someone and kind of look around the country because it's a new country.
I can't say that I did. The only place that happened that I was invited to and visited the people of the country was in Russia.
That's good.
I was in Russia, and this man walked up, and he was an editor, and he wanted to know where I was from, New Jersey. He invited me to his home, and it so happened I was alone, and I was on a tour, and I decided, well, I won't be able to go with you to your home and meet your family, and I regret that I didn't ask for an exchange of an address, because it was a great opportunity to have known. But as far as Germany, no, I don't believe that I did. There was so much to do.
It was
so
probably
much
a different time then.
Yeah.
And where did you go after Germany?
From Germany, I left for San Francisco.
Oh, finally.
Letterman Army Hospital.
Finally, that's what you wanted.
Right. It was. And it was at that time that my husband, at that time, we left Germany. He went to Fort Lewis, Washington, and I was staying at San Francisco. He came to, he was transferred, by that time, he had retired. He came to San Francisco working for Department of Defense, and we were married there. And from
And
Letterman.
What year was that, Martha?
That was in 1957.
Okay.
And we left there for Korea. He's a civilian at that time. And I received a letter from, let's see, I'm sorry. I think I went to Hawaii before Germany. I was in Hawaii for 3 years, and then Korea. And then
you had some
Walter
great
Reed.
assignments.
Walter Reed. From Walter Reed, I went to Okinawa, where I had the longest tour of duty for over 5 years on Okinawa. Arriving there, I was told, you'll never have to go to Vietnam, because in my 20s at Letterman, I developed a bleeding ulcer, and then figured that could happen again. When I'm arriving in Okinawa, I'm receiving orders for Vietnam.
And what year was
I didn't tell
that?
anyone that I didn't have to go. I could be excused. I looked forward to it. My husband had retired,
Wow.
and he was the safety director on Okinawa.
Oh, wow.
And I asked him, why did you go to Vietnam? He said, no, I'll wear a flag in my lapel, have in the window, a flag reading, I have someone serving in Vietnam. But what does he do? He requested Vietnam 1 year before I could leave Okinawa. I completed my tour of duty there, and I was able to go to Vietnam. I completed 1 year, requested an extension, and the Army said no. I had to leave. Meanwhile, he's working on his third consecutive year in Vietnam.
Wow.
And I had 8 months left to retire, and the Army thought it was time for me to leave, prepare for my departure from the Army. My husband said, ask for Fitzsimmons. And I said, what's in Colorado? So this was the end of his third year when I'm arriving in Colorado, 1971. It had snowed. Children were walking in the street with their hands in the shoes in their hand, and the water's running down. And I thought it was a far cry from New Jersey. You wouldn't dare do that when there's snow around. And that was my first day in Colorado, and I've enjoyed it ever since. Even though I met people and I traveled, I took tours. I went to, while I was in the Army, I traveled, but I went to Spain, South America, Africa,
wow.
Thailand. I can't even remember all because I was just so busy. The time passed so quickly every day, and I can only thank God to make me safe and grateful and happy. And the people I met, even though along the way I'm meeting people who would close the door, and then around the corner there's always someone who would open the door.
So let me ask you a question about that, Martha. These people that closed the door on you, and yet you still stayed in and persevered for 20 years, did really well, retired as a lieutenant colonel here at Fitzsimmons. What made you persevere when those doors were closed?
Well, like for instance, my first duty at Fort Dix. At that time, that was before black and white nurses, you didn't work together. It wasn't until later that Truman removed the segregation.
How did that make you feel?
Well, I don't know. It didn't bother me. When I went there, there was a vacancy in the operating room at Fort Dix. And I asked the chief nurse, could I apply for that? And she said, yes, report there Monday. When I reported, the nurse in charge of the operating room said to me, oh, there must be a mistake. Just letting me know that they had never had, well, of course, it was segregated. And that was my first experience. And I just realized I had to take it. And that wasn't something new to me growing up in New Jersey. I couldn't use a swimming pool. I couldn't go to the store and try on clothes. But you have to realize this was like in the 40s, and it was so different. And I didn't know any different. All I could think of was, I've got to move on. And I did it the best way I could to not have them say, no, you can't be a part of this.
So did you take the job?
Pardon?
So did you take the job in the operating room, or did they?
Yeah, whatever
continue
happened to that
reject
job
you?
in the operating room?
I stay up. The chief nurse, again, see, I said the chief nurse said that I should stay, be assigned there.
Good.
Yeah.
So that did work out.
It did.
And you know what? You had a really stiff backbone, and you persevered. It's very impressive, Martha. It really,
Yeah.
maybe not to you, because you said you kind of knew what to expect, but you know.
I grew up with that sort of thing happening to me. And it just so happened my personality, my need, and my determination all helped me to bear with that.
Yeah, determination. I think that's
Yes,
the word. And
because when I was in basic, I had basic at Fort Meade, Maryland, in '51. After being assigned with my Army uniform, which is it was brown, and I was tall and skinny, and they were long. The skirts were long at that time. I went into Silver Springs, Maryland. The Army issued a work shoe. I wanted a heel. So I went into the Silver Springs, Maryland. I'm wearing my uniform, and at the door they said, you can't come in. What could I do? But they said maybe down the street there'll be a store that'll have what you want. I mean, but it hurt. And when I'm thinking, he had to know that I was in uniform, because I was wearing my uniform, but it didn't make any difference. So
they didn't care anyway.
They didn't care, and I didn't.
That's so terrible, and I apologize for all that bad behavior. That's a lot of things have changed, but not everything. Yeah. And you really were determined, and you persevered, and you did great.
I didn't. I thank God all the way, because I wasn't that assertive and arrogant, and that was not my personality. And so it was easier for me to step back. I remember when I was 16, my cousin and I were given a job at Seagirt, New Jersey. This is at the end of high school. And we worked for a family, 4 adults. Each family had 4 children. And when I think about it, I just happen to think of this. My cousin was not she didn't respond to the treatment or the amount of work. And the two families decided they'd get her another job. This is true. They found their friend who had a baby, maybe less than a year. When they told her she was working for this family, and I was remaining with 4 adults and 8 children, and I asked, would I be paid for that, paid additional?
Oh,
and
right,
they said
right.
no, and they didn't pay me. I'm from New Jersey, but North Jersey, and here we're down Seagirt, southern New Jersey. I needed the money, so I stayed to take care of doing my summer vacation of the family like that. She would never have done that. She would never have tolerated it. And they didn't seem to mind feeling that I should be there and take care as long as I did. And I did what they expected. Cooking, cleaning, when I think of that. But it didn't take away, didn't harm me in any way. And well, as I said, I needed the money.
Wow, that's crazy now that you've lived your whole life, right? And you think back to that memory. But actually, like you said before, things turned out really well despite these things, because you persevered. That's really why.
And when I think I am today, I am so blessed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so grateful to be alive. So many people that I've known before I joined the Army, and the ones that I've joined the Army, are no longer alive. And here, into my 96th year, and
Yay!
and I think when I hear just happened, there's so many, but O.J. Simpson, 76. I can't remember. but a named person, and they're in their 80s. Well, my husband, he was 10 years older than me when we married.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah. And he died at age 76. But what happened after leaving the Army, he went to Nevada to work with the atomic experiments. And during that time, he would tell me they built beautiful homes, furnished them, had live animals. And all of this was part of the experiment. But the fallout from the atomic blast, he developed cancer.
Oh, my gosh.
And at that time, John Wayne was there with his crew. They were there for filming. And it was reported that they also developed cancer.
Wow, that's terrible.
Yeah,
that's really terrible.
But I don't know if that program.
So I think I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So what is your fondest memory of being in the military? What was the best thing about it, your fondest memory?
Well, I think meeting my
I knew it, meeting your husband. And what was your husband's name?
Pardon?
Your husband's name?
Willard Baker. Willard, NMI, Baker, no middle initial. That was always written.
I knew that was your fondest memory. Yeah. And so what did you do as your primary assignment when you were in the Army? What kind of work did you do? We didn't talk about that yet. While you were in the military, what kind of work? What was your job?
I was an operating nurse, and that happened because when I entered Fort Dix and I asked for the vacancy, and I enjoyed it. So from there on, when I went to Germany, I was operating room. All of my assignments were operating room until I went to Okinawa. And when I went to Okinawa, I was told a nurse was returning to the States, and she said, I'm going to ask for Martha to take my position. And one of the nurses I knew overheard them say, if she doesn't know what she's doing, we will take her out. As it would happen, I went to I didn't go to the operating room. I was in supply. I requisitioned supplies for the hospital, for the outlying clinics. And in Okinawa, now we're out just a 50-mile long island, no hospital that I could call and say, what's your procedure? How do you do this? Or what do you do? But I would go home and I'd tell my husband, this is what this something I think of or I'd like to do. What do you think about it? He knew absolutely nothing about operating room or about nursing. But I found that it was such a wonderful experiment. In fact, there's an article about my working in supply. I'll never forget it. Thanksgiving, I could use the autoclaves in the kitchen.
All right.
And there was a commissary nearby, and I bought a turkey.
Oh, no.
In
You
supply,
autoclaved
and I
it?
prepared the turkey. And in our supply, we have tables, for linens and folding. And when the operating room was invited, and our supply and CMS, and the men said, "Oh, a turkey with bones." And I hadn't thought about everything we had was shipped into Okinawa. And they had rolled turkey, and here we had this turkey.
And you said you prepared it in the autoclave?
Yes.
Yeah, an excellent idea.
And when I went, the person in charge, he was a captain in charge, and the men, they were all men, and they had pinups the length of the Quonset hut. And I thought, gee, I've got to change that. How am I going to do it? So everything that came to us was in cardboard or wood. So I had them save the cardboard boxes. I pasted the pinup girls on these. I made it like a book. It was below a Quonset window. The wood that they came, I had them build a bunch, and the rubber that was for sheets, I used that to cover it, and placed it. We had a table below the window, and all those pinups were on these cardboard boxes, and I called it the R&R Center. And they didn't object.
Of course not. That's why they helped you, right? They did not object. So that's a great memory. So would you say, this sounds like this is the answer, but would you say that was your best Army experience, or do you have another one?
Well, I forgot what hospital, but in the works that I did, we had, I could go out on the wards and find out what the nurses were doing to treat the patients. And in doing a dressing, it meant opening a package and put on a sterile tray. Mm-hmm. And I was able to find out what was needed for that individual patient, how many times the dressing was changed. We could make that many sets up. When they used the tray, instead of having to open it, everything was sterilized in this way. That seemed so simple, but it was so easy to do, and to see how it could simplify, how it could be taken
You could
care
simplify
of.
everything,
Right,
and individualize it.
And the people that I worked for, they were willing. They enjoyed that too. One day I remember I went to the ward, and there was a patient. He had one arm left. His legs were amputated and his other arm. And I talked to him, and then I asked him, is there anything I can do? He said, I'd like to have my hair washed. Well, I was able to use a gurney, take him to we had large sinks for preparing our supplies, and had him take him down to our supplies and washed his hair. The day that he was returning to the States, he was so nervous, and because he left with a complete body, and he's going home with only his one arm. And I said, what can I do? And he said, I'd like to have my hair washed. And I was able to take him down. Something so simple, and his attitude and everything, I even heard from after he returned he was from Washington State.
Wow.
And he was telling me how he was adjusting to all of that. And,
so he kept in touch with you.
Pardon?
He kept in touch with you.
Yes, but it's so sad when you think of it, that the men from here and their families are doing this in another country, and it isn't thankless, but you almost feel, why take from a family for I shouldn't say that because we're helping, but
Well, there was a lot of sacrifice involved.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And while I was in the Army, anything that I thought that I could do, I was always, ready to offer suggestions if I had any, or I don't know.
Well, being in there, you're kind of like in the trenches, so you knew what was needed because you were right there.
Yeah,
Just like individualized trays with everything that they needed.
Right, it seems so simple, but
Yeah,
it was.
but why wouldn't have they done that? But they needed you. That's what happened. Is they needed
and
Martha
as I
to
say,
come in.
I have that article that was written about, that was from one of my assignments, and that's where. That was in Okinawa, where I received a meritorious service medal. And because of that subtle thing that I did each week, the best ward was given a reward. There were a medal given credit for having been the best ward. And my department, we were always winning. And the chief nurse said, you're not actually there with a patient, and we're going to give somebody else a chance. I felt bad about that, but I didn't think about that. But for instance, the way the supplies are stored, the syringe, there were so many things I could see that could be changed, and I did that. And I don't know how, and it was only with the help of the Lord giving me, pointing me in that direction.
That's really great. And so when you were at the end of your career, you came to Fitzsimmons, you retired. What kind of medals did you receive while you were in the military? You got the meritorious service.
I got the
you have your list over here.
Oh, this you mean?
Yeah. Can you see that okay, Martha?
Pardon?
Can you see that okay?
It's not even there, is it?
Let's see. Let me see if I can. Oh, no, here you go.
Oh,
awards, decorations.
Yeah.
There you go.
The Meritorious Service Medal is one of the highest that you can receive. And it was the first time that I had received a medal, because you receive accommodation medals, and I had not even received an accommodation medal for being in the service.
And that was when you were in Korea?
This was in,
Your meritorious?
Was in Okinawa.
Oh, in Okinawa.
Was it in Okinawa?
Were you the first Black woman to receive
Pardon?
that award? Were you the first Black woman to receive that award? The Meritorious Service Award?
Was it what?
Were you the first Black woman to receive it?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know. But I was the first to be given a chance to work, but this is after the Army, to work in junior ROTC. Right. And no female had ever been given that. When I was asked by the chief of the whole schools, he asked me would I substitute. I said, I don't know anything about ROTC. He said, you can learn. And as it would happen, he sent me to school, and the sergeant and the colonel, I didn't realize they really disliked that idea. The men didn't like the idea that I was a female coming in to do that. And so at the end of the year, they part you for vacation, and at that particular time, the first school said, I'm going to resign. And the colonel said, have your resignation on my desk on Monday morning. And I know that he didn't expect that sort of thing to happen. But from that school, I was transferred to another. And again, it happened. Then I went to from North to Abraham Lincoln to George Washington. George Washington, it completely changed. And finally, they built another school, Montbello, and the colonel at Thomas Jefferson was transferred there, and I was the first time I was given that position to be in charge myself. I was the SAI, the person in charge, and they didn't particularly care for that. But the Army did not supply females this is a bad time because it's after Vietnam. The females wore a vest and a plaid skirt, and the Army did not supply shoes. So I went out and I bought boots. At that time, boots were happening to be in fashion. And the girls, they were glad to wear the boots, and they looked very cute in those little uniforms. They won.
So that was ROTC.
That was I'm out
ROTC.
of the Army then, but it was ROTC. And actually, I'm at a high school, but we worked with the junior highs, and these were junior high cadets. And I was surprised the number of the females who joined. So they won five trophies, our school.
That's great.
It was fun working with them. And
So was that your first job after you retired, the ROTC?
ROTC was
And how many years did that last?
12 years, and I would have stayed longer because
That's a long time.
But the person in charge, the overall, like the one who hired me, was replaced, and we were the same rank. And he did everything he could to have me removed. I had to get a lawyer because
Oh my
I
gosh.
was even fired from junior ROTC because he had the position to go. We were fourth region, and then they all agreed with his findings. And he said I didn't get along with people. I didn't know what I was doing.
Well, of course, he was making this all up.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yes, I have the documentation, and I have a letter also from. I was fired. I had to get a lawyer, but with Washington State, where the region commands are, they fired me, and
So did the lawyer help you then?
it was a lawyer. But they still allowed me to be discharged, to be fired, and whatever steps I took, I finally got a letter from Denver Public Schools saying, you are a life member. So that was all rescinded. But it's the fact that it happened. I had to go
Yeah.
through all of that
That's
to
terrible.
survive.
After how many years did they fire you? Was that
I
towards
was
the...
after my 12th year,
And then
and then I did volunteer work after that.
with ROTC or...
Oh, no, not with ROTC. I have a list of all, for instance, when DIA.
Oh, when they first opened up?
Right.
I remember. I was there on opening day. I flew in.
Yeah. I mean, I have a list. I had so many things that I did, like Big Brothers, Big Sisters.
Lots of volunteerism.
Yeah.
So pretty much, it sounds like almost your whole life, once you joined the military, you served other people. You know what I mean? All your jobs were serving others. And you're a very selfless person.
But I like that letter that the one cadet who, I don't know what he does today, but I had a 80th birthday party, and I sent out emails to everyone from the 4 high schools where I served to come to the party. And there was one letter. Can I read that one?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Wait,
Well,
this one. Oh, here it is. This one.
okay, you want
This
would
is
you
show-
like me to
this-
read it?
Yes. Well,
Okay,
this
so
shows
this
when
is
I
the-
was the first female. In the 100 years of Denver Public Schools, I was the first female to be able to teach junior.
So
junior
here is the
ROTC.
letter that Martha got. Colonel Baker, from the time I learned of your 80th birthday celebration, I have struggled with what I should get for you. I could not come up with anything, but I wanted you to know that I appreciate the example you gave me and my classmates. I know that there were days that we tried your patience and probably had you question why you decided to teach. But in spite of how we may have behaved, you never gave up on our potential. Your gift of encouragement was always genuine and available, and I thank you for showing me how important it is to encourage those you care about. May the Lord bless you with many more birthdays. Gary Hall, Thomas Jefferson High School, class of 83. That is nice.
These
Okay.
are some. That was the first junior high school that I. That's just some of them.
This is your first job for junior ROTC?
That's just.
That's great, Martha. That's wonderful. Okay.
I want to hear a little bit more.
Pardon?
I want to hear a little bit more about your time in Vietnam.
Yes. We would like to learn more about your time in Vietnam. Let's get some of those pictures too. Yeah, what did you do in Vietnam? Start with that.
I was in supply again in Vietnam, and we supplied I requisitioned the supplies and prepared them for Australia, for Korea, and for Thailand, and that was really an experience.
So how did you feel when you first got to Vietnam? You got off the plane, you went into, where were you at? Were you in Saigon? Where were you at in Vietnam?
I don't know, because see, my husband had been there 1 year.
Okay.
It was my first time going to Vietnam. We lived in a Quonset hut. We had a two-bed, not a Quonset hut. We lived in a trailer. Trailers were damaged in Texas, and the Army bought them, repaired them, and we lived in trailers. And he had a Volkswagen. And I just couldn't believe this. And well, this was near the end of it, but they were still wounded. We'd have Australian unknown is what they'd bring them in with a tag on their toe.
Yeah.
And that part of it, that was the sad part. But in Vietnam, I don't know, there's a book it's called The Woman, and I tried to go, apparently this book was written by a nurse in Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
And it was many years after I left there in 71, and it was a presentation given at Denver U about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it was sold out. And
so this is just recently you're talking
recent, about. Yes, and it's about nurses in Vietnam, and I haven't read it.
I would
the name
love
of it is
to.
The Woman, and I'm a member of many organizations, and one of them is Vietnam, and one mentioned it to me. He said, I read the book, and I said, I haven't read it yet. I haven't gotten it. He said, I'll see to it that you get a book of it. Her name is Christy Hannon, I believe.
Okay, Christy Hannon.
Yeah.
That's got to be an interesting book.
Pardon?
That's got to be an interesting book.
Yes, and as I say, I came back from Vietnam when it wasn't a good time here in the United States for people who had served there.
Right.
And when you think that they died there, that's so sad.
How were you treated when you returned from Vietnam?
The what?
How were you treated when you returned from Vietnam?
I don't know. It didn't.
Did you
bother me.
feel that anyone
I
didn't appreciate you? Or,
I-
a lot
I
of
don't-
men were hackled and they were called baby killer and things like that. How did you have any of that kind of thing going on?
No, not really, I guess. But I still wore my hat. I still wore my. Whenever I go out now, even I will wear my hat that says Korea, Vietnam, and they said Korea. That was a long time ago, but 1951 was a long time ago. But I feel proud of it, and I live at St. Andrews, and there was a resident. He was 102 and 6 months, and he came there, and he would say to the females, "Where's your husband? And what does your husband do?" Or when he dies, or when I would like your phone number. Well, this has turned off, and of course, there's more females in retirement centers, and they didn't like him. But anyway, he became ill. When I met him, he was sitting in the lobby, and I went over and I said, "You're a new resident," and we talked for a while, and he said, "It's time for dinner," and I went to. I asked him, would he eat with us? As it would happen, I befriended him, and he was first admitted to Aurora Central, then rehab, and then second assisted living. Well, he died, and his family wasn't.
They didn't come to his side?
They didn't want any publicity or anything at the mortuary. They were told not to give out any information at Fort Logan, not to give out any information. I called Washington.
And do we know why? Why was it?
No, I don't know why. But I asked if I could give a memorial service for a veteran, and of course, it didn't involve any military at all, but I belong to many military organizations, and I called them, and I asked them, and I explained, and I asked them would they help. I was surprised to see, and would take him, when he first came, I would take him to church, and at the church, I called the minister, and there was a friend of his. They lived their backyards met for 25 years. She did from the civilian part, and I did from the military part, to get the people. And the chapel was concerned how would the presence of guns being used. But anyway, there's an organization all about men. The men that died in the service, and they were not given the privilege of being buried at Fort Logan. Right. She has, I'm sorry, I forgot the name of it, but I called her, and I was surprised at the outpouring of people. I didn't bring in the picture, but
once they knew, right?
Pardon?
So once they knew about him, you had all the outpouring.
Right.
So he was in the military also?
He had training at Buckley. This is World War II.
Wow.
And see,
is that how you befriended each other? As you kind of connected together with him because you were both veterans?
And we lived at St. Andrews.
Even though there was a lot of people, you said, that didn't really like him because of how he went about doing things, very kind of chauvinistic, I'm going to say. But you befriended him, and you made sure after he died.
I was so surprised at the outpouring. The people did respond. And I don't know, I thought I even had the picture of him, because one couple, the husband, he was Air Force, this person was from Louisiana. He, through line, he found out information and got the picture and history, and we used that. But still, we didn't get the response from St. Andrews. They didn't. That's because.
So you saw to it that he was recognized is really what you did.
Exactly. That's what.
Because he was a veteran too.
A World War II veteran.
Yeah. Well, that was very, very kind of you, Martha. That's wonderful. Is he at Fort Logan now?
He's at Fort Logan.
That's wonderful.
Yes. But see, the family could do that. They could have the mortuary. They could have the burial. But my part was not anything with the building, except they were all veterans that participated. Okay.
So you continue to serve others. This is what you do, Martha. This is what you are good at. Now, I see we have a lot of pictures over here, and I'd like to get some of those in.
But I want to tell you, her name is Zelda.
Oh, Zelda, yes.
Zelda. I just met her, and it's like she's
like a light. She's a light.
She is, and I can't thank her enough. On March 21st, because of her, I was honored at the Denver Nuggets
wow.
Yes. Yeah, we
Knickerbockers.
ran into someone in the hall right before we came in, and he came running out and said he remembered her from the Denver Nuggets game.
Because
And he wanted to he was like, I can go and tell everybody that Martha was here. Somebody recognized her just on our way in.
but and just only this morning. I mean, for me, last night, for me to call Zelda, and she just came to
She swooped in.
Huh?
Yeah, Zelda is a really good person.
She is,
And how did you and Zelda meet?
At church.
At church, good.
Yes.
And you just had a kinship.
She was a veteran.
And she's a veteran,
and
right?
It was at a veterans affair.
Okay.
And I met her then. And then she reached out to me more than that. She reached out to me, and it's been that way ever since,
And how long has that been? How long have you known each other now?
It's not maybe 2 years.
2 years.
4
years.
4. Oh, see, my memory.
Well, it seems like
the time goes so fast. Yes. I can't believe it. It goes so fast.
A true friend.
It really, she really is.
There's so few in real life.
I know, and
right?
I don't have any family here. There were 4. My mother had 4 girls. I was the oldest. I didn't participate in sports because I had to go home and take care of them.
Oh, because you were the oldest.
The oldest.
And what about any nieces or nephews? Or
I don't
children,
know them, and my mother. I have nieces and nephews, and I don't know. By my joining the Army, they weren't even born when I joined in 1971, and so I haven't gotten to know them.
Now, did your husband have any children prior to you guys
He
married?
had a daughter.
He had a daughter.
And she joined the Army.
Good.
She was in the Army, and I met her twice, only twice. But she died a year after he did.
Oh, wow. That's terrible. And so you never had kids?
No, I joined the Army in 1951. Females weren't allowed to be married. And so you couldn't. You weren't allowed to have children.
Of course not, because you can't have children without being married.
Right. And today, a woman can come on active duty with her children, not having the husband. I mean,
a lot has changed.
I've been told they even have maternity uniforms for females in all services. I haven't seen
They didn't have one when I was pregnant in the
Army.
They
did not have?
I had to go out and buy my own. That's what they told me. They gave me some money, and I got to buy my own uniform.
Really?
Yes.
Is that right? But see, like with females, at the end of the Vietnam, the Army didn't give them a uniform.
Right.
They didn't give them shoes. But so there's been so many changes. So much has happened. Females are now in outer space, and I believe a black female has been in outer space.
That's great.
So, I mean, there's been so much. There's
a
lot
of changes.
Yeah, they're under the Air Force, but the Space Force.
Space Force, yes, yeah. So what are some things that you could say, or something you could say, for today's generation that you would like them to know about your military service? It was a lot difference even between you and I. Like I enlisted in 1983, right? and was a lot different than your experience, although we were at some of the same places.
And when we think about what happened in the Revolutionary War,
yes,
and on down, all the advances, all the changes, and there's still changes, and there's still things to happen. 50 years from now, they'll say, "You did what?" Can you imagine? Everything is so technology is all there, even though I'm having problems with my telephone. Technology, but it's so much, and every day there's so much to explore, but the important thing is if people can learn to share and give each other. And like I came to Aurora, and I was told there were 72 languages spoken at the schools, and that it was growing. But when you see the Olympics, maybe one one group, one flag would have maybe 3 people. So I don't know where all the people, but it's like a melting pot all over the world.
Yeah.
And it's just in Aurora. I noticed where I live, when I moved the street I lived on, I watched them build the house. It was a dirt road.
Wow.
And then I said, where are the people coming from when I came here in 71? And here I'm coming in and I'm saying, where are the others coming? And today I don't even know the population anymore.
So was there anything that you can think of, your favorite part of doing ROTC? Any favorite things?
I don't know, just being able to be there.
Yes.
I felt so good, and especially that Colonel Weigel would say, we lived across the street from each other, and for him to say, would you like to substitute? And, you know, they moved to Florida, and his daughter, he had 2 daughters, and when he died, the daughter wrote to me and said, would I write his obituary?
Oh, wow.
And I did that, you know, and he's buried at Arlington. They were from, I forgot he was from Kansas, I believe. I forgot it was out west here.
So there's a real special person that you met while doing ROTC.
You said who was?
He was a special person.
Absolutely.
What was his name?
Weigel. I'm trying to think. What was his first name? What was his? Oh, isn't that awful?
What's his last name?
Weigel.
Weigel.
I don't know if I think one of I had. I'm
Would
not
you
sure.
like to go over some of your pictures now? Is this a good time to go over some pictures?
Okay.
We'll hand them to you.
You want to show this one from Vietnam?
Yes.
Oh, this.
We are definitely interested in this, Martha.
Vietnam. In Vietnam.
Look at the gorgeous Martha.
You know, we in supply. I was
1970.
I was given we had a truck, you know, to pick up the supplies, and so that was my responsibility. Oh, this is a very good friend of mine. We met in Washington. And look what she wrote. She'd come by and she'd say, what do you have to eat?
Mm-hmm.
What does she say?
So she put a little funny in here, and she said, come on in. I hate to bargain in when you're fixing supper, Martha.
Oh,
this is a great one, Martha.
Oh, thank you. This was in San Francisco. I didn't know anyone when I went to San Francisco, and neither he and I. She was the first Black lieutenant colonel. She was the first Black full colonel. When I met her in Germany, and they knew. But when we went on leave, and what they'd say, oh, they made such a big to-do because she was a captain. And I thought, oh, I wonder if someday I can be a captain. That's how far.
Yeah, well, you were a little more than a captain, Martha.
You talked about how you honored.
This is because of Zelda.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it says.
It says, Dear hero of the game, King Soopers is honored to host you as our guest and to recognize you as our hero of the game. Welcome to Ball Arena. And the person that signed it says a lot more than that. Person that signed it is Joe Kelly, president of King Soopers. We take great pride in sharing this experience with you and hope that you feel celebrated for your bravery and all the sacrifices you have made in service to our great nation. And you just kind of kept that theme going your whole life, Martha.
This was just last month.
That was just last month.
Just last.
Let's get that Denver newspaper. What's this one about, Martha?
That was in
This was
20.
Wednesday, November 11th, 2020.
And open it, it shows the other the bottom part of it is this one.
Oh, yeah.
She was a Marine.
Leela. I don't know if you can see that. Good. Okay, we saw it. And what's this about? It says 2 nurses went to war to defend our country. A big picture of Martha and a picture of Leela. I actually read this article, Martha.
You did?
Yes, I did. I did. I told you I studied up on you.
Other specific ones you want to see?
Oh,
Maybe this one is this your
I don't know if I know any of them in there, but I did that because I was thinking of Benjamin O. Davis.
what about this
who
one?
They graduate. Oh, that I had retired from that.
Retired.
Oh, wow.
But
And let's look at the ones of your family, of your grandmother and great-grandmother. I know you wanted to show that. I think that's over here. Yes. Yes, there we go. Okay, so this is your mother, right?
my mother,
Okay.
She was lovely.
And on the reverse, this is your
my mother's grandmother, my great grandmother, who I visited her when she was 96 and still working.
96 and still working.
and
Kind of
she-
like you, Martha.
Can you tell us about her?
Yeah, can you tell us about your great-grandmother? What can you tell us about her?
I spent 1 week with her. She was married twice. She was the product of a slave. She was married to white. Don't know any of them anything than black, and of course I'm on the black side. And she didn't talk about it to me. My mother told me. She was born in the 1800s, and so there must be many offspring. But I
Right.
went 1 week. I was the only one there, and to think that, she just treated me as if I'd been there all along with her.
Yeah.
And so she would leave for work, housework, because she was part black. She probably couldn't get in what I don't know. And I wished I was 10, and I wished I had spent time having her tell me her life stories.
I
And
know.
that didn't happen.
You don't think about that until
No,
later.
right. But she was just precious. And she lived on Dixwell Avenue, which is in Yale. What a coincidence, Here, I would walk along the street to get them to that corner.
Wow.
No harm, And when I was 10 years old, I was struck by a car. I was on Broad Street. I ran across the street. The car knocked me under the car when it struck me. And they pulled me out, and people gathered around, and they said, "You've got to take her to a hospital." And it was another 10-year-old with me, and he put both of us in the car, took us away from the scene of the accident, and put us out.
Wow.
Just being hit by the car was just in itself phenomenal. To think that I was struck underneath and I lived,
Yeah.
and then for him to take us away and put us out.
Yeah.
But I only had one injury on my thigh. God, the things that I think of that happen all along.
You just appreciate all of these things.
I
You really do. I get that from you. You appreciate it.
I can't believe.
Anything else that we want to go over, Martha? I see a magazine over there, and I see this plaque.
Oh, the magazines.
Would you like that one, Martha?
Yeah, this. But there, that says the content, and then it shows
Martha Baker, page 14.
14.
13, here. There we go. So this magazine is called Active Living, Colorado Seniors in the Spotlight. Of course you're in it. So here's a picture of Martha.
It was
Right up here.
77.
Oh, a young 77 at that time.
It says, how do I down here? What
It
does
says
it say?
age. This is great. 77. Current occupation, do-gooder. Former occupation, lieutenant colonel, U.S. Army. How she stays so young. Daily 5 a.m. workouts with Denise Austin. This is great. Anything in here that you want me to highlight?
I don't know.
This basically goes over your
Mature-
military and then how you taught ROTC for 12 years at Denver Public Schools, and you continue to reach out. And I would say you still do that to this day. And finally, we have Zelda, who reached out to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, isn't that right? Okay, what about all the big pile of pictures over there, Martha?
That.
Shall we show some of those?
Okay.
Here, I'll help with that. Okay, let's see. Do you?
That was
Oh
the
my
highlight.
God!
The highlight. I couldn't believe that.
Okay, so this was your wedding. I think we showed this one. Your husband, very handsome guy.
Oh, the first time I saw him.
These are great pictures, Martha. Oh, this one's great. This one's great. Cutting the cake, yes, with the sword, of course.
That's a beautiful cake.
Yeah.
My wedding, the wedding cost $100.
$100, so expensive.
And the pictures cost more than the wedding. I had it at the Officers Club at Presidio in San Francisco.
Oh my gosh.
And
Oh, okay, here we go. This one, we got to get in this one. This one right here.
The garter shop.
taking the garter and then he's throwing.
You made a very beautiful and handsome couple. Oh, this is good too. This is great. Getting in the car. Where did you go on your honeymoon?
We didn't. He had to go back to Fort Lewis. And he went back there to retire. That's what I forgot. He was on his way. He was on his way from Nevada, the atomic site, and he went there to. He stopped there. He stopped. I forgot that. He left Nevada, came in only for a weekend because he had to leave. And so I said, tonight, he arrived on Friday. I said, we're having a dinner for the wedding party. Oh, no, I'm not. He says, he said to the best, he didn't know anybody there. He says, I'm going on back to Washington. But he was a big tease. He called me Bill or Oblongata.
Oblongata?
That's what he said. Hey, Bill, if I'm on another part of the house, he'd say, hey, Bill. And then when he came back from Korea and he came back for good, he said, I don't feel like this is my house. And I said, why? He said, because you have clothes in every closet. It was a 4-bedroom house.
So that's great. Now, let me ask you kind of a closing question, but it doesn't have to
okay,
be closing. What is something or some things you would like others to know in the future about you, your life, your husband, your careers, any of that, or just even your philosophy in life?
I got to sell my house.
You got to sell your
I got
house.
to sell my house. But everybody I've met, the things I've done, my career, it has been rewarding so much so, and it's because of the people that I meet and the things that they offer or they influence, and it seems that happens today to reach here. I only talked to Zelda yesterday, and then we're ready. We came up on the elevator, we opened the door, and who's standing there to go to the parking lot but Zelda?
Of course.
So
So it sounds like you really appreciate everything that happened in your life.
I
and
do.
it kind of all happened for a reason. And you said that the best decision of your life was joining the military. And that's exactly what I always say. The best decision I ever made in my life was joining the military.
I can't imagine what direction I would have taken had can't imagine what I would have done had when.
And so
the
would
Army
you
said that-
recommend the military for others?
I do. And I say, I'm sure their parents, if I'm talking to them, I'm sure your parents will say, we don't want you to talk to my child. When we came out of the Nuggets game, two mothers stopped and they had two young children. And the kids came up and they wanted to talk to me. And this one said, you're a hero.
Yeah, see, that's
just as we
that's
came
great,
out,
yeah.
out of the game.
And it's so nice that young kids can see that and have someone to strive, have a life to strive for, because there's not always the most wonderful role models. And you are a great role model.
And I say, even though it's military, think of it, it's the same as jobs that are held outside as civilians. There are the same, you do the same, and they benefit you if you don't know or if you have no idea. It's a chance to give you an idea of what should be the things that you can think about. What would you do? It just seems, it's like vibes. It just seems to filter to the next person. And
that's perfect, yes. That's wonderful. That's good. Anything else that we might have left out that you'd like to add? Would you like to show any more of these things?
Oh,
let's get this one.
You know what this is? It was taken here.
It was taken here. Okay. Let me get this in.
And it's from the Secretary of Veterans Affairs.
Secretary of Veterans Affairs.
And he sent me a
Washington.
note.
So this is May 16th, 2023. On behalf of the Department of Veterans Affairs, it is my pleasure to send you a note of appreciation. Now this is really special. And we have a seal on it. This is great. Please know that the sacrifices you have made and the accomplishments of your military career and work are held in the highest esteem. I join your VA healthcare professionals, family, and friends in celebrating your life and your service to America. And this so much really, to me, is a big part of your life, your service to America. Whether you were in the Army or not in the Army, you have had a life of service. And you feel you have been really rewarded, and all those around you, they feel rewarded by you. So it's a win-win. And okay, here we have a City and County of Denver proclamation, and this is from Mayor Hickenlooper. I don't know if I can get this all in there. And I'm trying to see if there's a date in here. I can't see a date. Do you remember when you got this, Martha?
I think what does it have the year? I think it was for my birthday. I think it was
Saturday, December 1st, 2007.
Yeah, that was when I was 80. No, 2007. No, I forgot. So much has happened to me in the sevens, but I should remember that.
Let's see.
Anything else, Martha? And Suzanne, those conclusion questions. Martha, anything
Yes.
else? I'm not sure. You tell me.
I kind of asked you this already, Martha, a little bit.
What
do you wish more people, non-military people, like civilians, knew about veterans or military service? What do you wish more civilians knew about military service?
Right away when I mentioned to someone, they would say, I don't want anybody telling me what to do.
Yes, that's always what they say.
I don't know why people feel I don't want anybody telling me what to do. Our lives every day we have to go by rules and regulations, and when they abandon them or they want to make their own in a selfish way, and it's just like. But if you notice that babies, when they're together, there's always one who's going to take the toy or going to
Yeah,
hit. I mean, it starts there. It seems that
So there really isn't a world that doesn't exist with some sort of rule, whether it's stated or not stated.
Right. Because when the mother sees this taking place, right away she would.
Yeah.
I know.
It's true. It's true. Okay, what would you like people to know or remember from your journey? This can be anything, your journey. What would you like people to know or remember about your journey?
That it's been a great one.
It's been a great one.
Great, all with the help of mankind, but from God. I mean, you have to have something to believe on. Maybe everyone
That's what
doesn't
my
believe
mother
on God,
used to always
but if
say.
you can have a belief that everyone, give them a chance.
Yes.
Not take it away.
Right.
Benefit. Let them know more. Like when I see the buildings that are crushed, no more. Where's the food grown? Where's it prepared? What about the clothes? What about the medicine? When someone destroys that, and if they put themselves in the other place, having lived in that building, it was certainly destroyed.
Right. What message would you like to leave for future generations who will view this interview? Future generations that will view this, what kind of message would you like to leave them?
The best, may they live as long as they want and not want as long as they live.
Oh, that is great. Live as long as they want,
and
not want as long as they live. Oh, I like that, Martha. Is there anything that you would like to add that we haven't covered? Anything at all? Any pictures? Anything you want to say?
I want to thank you from the VA, everyone from the VA, all that they're giving, and everything that they're giving to us. I was coming down the hall once, and there was a man in a wheelchair, no legs, and I stopped him, and I spoke to him, and he said to me, "I'm Native American." I said, "God bless you." I was just so glad to. I mean, he was proud of the fact. I mean, he had served. Yeah. He had served, and he could have a bitterness if you think of the overall history.
And so could have you, and you don't. What can you tell us about these pictures, Martha?
Well, this was high school.
Okay, so we have high school, and what about this one?
I think I was probably a captain or a major then.
Yeah,
I can't remember where. I can't remember where it was taken, but I can tell the uniform is not, the latest. And this is, I don't know why it was taken out. That was, I think, retirement.
This is a 15 July 1975. To me, it kind of reminds me of promotion photos.
But I had to maybe I did it for ROTC. Could be yeah, because it was 75. Yeah, that's when I started. That's when I started teaching junior ROTC.
Yeah.
Oh,
we'd like to go over your medals. Let me get your paper here. Where's your paper at? Here they are. Okay, we'll work on this together. Okay, Bronze Star. Wow.
That's meritorious. Oh, no, this is a Bronze Star. This is meritorious.
Army Commendation.
It's here, Army Commendation. Reserve. Germany is here.
Reserve Medal.
Wait, I think this is.
Now, that one I'm not going to know.
Let's see. I can't remember what that one is.
Vietnam Service Medal.
Oh, the Vietnam, these two.
Okay, those bottom two, Vietnam. So both of those. One is Vietnam Service Medal, 2 Bronze Stars, and the other one is Vietnam Campaign Medal with defense.
These two are
Okay, and then the National Defense Service Medal with the oak leaf cluster.
No, what is this one? Isn't it?
I
Wasn't
don't see an
that-
oak leaf cluster on it, though.
This is National Defense.
There we go. All right. Those look great, Martha.
Oh, thank you.
What about your name?
These are accommodations. My service at a installation, and the awards were given to the service.
So this is I think this is your National Defense with the oak leaf
But
cluster
this,
because it's
right.
got the oak leaf cluster on
Well,
it.
isn't
And
that
this
awful?
one I am not
I'm
sure.
not sure. Is that awful? I can't remember that.
Yes.
But it's a unit citation, for having
Do you know what it
been
is?
assigned there.
No, this one here.
Oh, no. Okay. So I have something here that's very special.
Oh,
that I'd like for you to talk to us
Have you
about.
heard of Wish of a Lifetime?
Oh,
Okay,
yes. You have to talk about this, Martha.
They wanted to honor World War II veterans, and I was a Korean, not World War II, but because of the space available and so close to that time, they permitted me to travel with them. It's an all expense paid. This one is. I don't have a booklet with here. I have one. I gave Wade at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
Yeah,
I
this
laid
was an honor
here.
flight that you
So-
went on.
Yeah, this is an honor flight, Rocky Mountain honor flight.
Yeah, this is different from Wish of a Lifetime. I have one, but I didn't have it here.
And so,
And I was there
yeah,
for.
what can you tell us? How did this start? How did this end? What did you do?
I don't remember how I became.
No, but I mean, I'm talking about the flight itself. Like the flight, you took a flight, and where did you go, and what did you do?
We were. I can't even remember the hotel.
That doesn't matter.
These are all veterans, all World War II veterans. There's so few left when this was done, and that was like 6 or 8 years ago. And they take us to Washington. Our flight, the food, the tour, everything is taken care of by the honor flight staff. And we visited the memorials, and they took us out to lunch. I mean, we were out for lunch, dinner, and you met there was a female on this flight. We lived at St. Andrews. I'm in.
Oh, you both lived at
Independent-
St. Andrews.
Yeah, and she and I don't know if there were many people, volunteers to go along to help with the wheelchairs or those that need assistance. And it's just such a wonderful, wonderful plan that they do to share. Like I had what is this?
This is a great one.
I like that.
This is what I remember. Only it said something different. Right?
Right. I have that one
Something
too.
like, we want you.
Yeah.
No.
So how were you selected for the honor flight?
How did you get selected for the honor flight?
Have you heard of Heather Gardens?
Yep.
Heather
I was
Gardens, I
just
think I
there.
was there, and they gave a presentation and part of it. In fact, November 11th of 23, St. Andrews had breakfast for veterans, and it was including others than that were at St. Andrews. I was leaving, and I saw one of the residents, and I knew his birthday and my birthday was the same, so I went over to speak to him. And while I was there was a couple, and I said, pardon me,
Do we have a water?
I said, are you a
water
native
on
of Colorado?
She have a
And she
water?
said, no. I said, where are you from? She said, New Jersey. And I said, where? She said, Belleville. I'm from Belleville, New Jersey. She said, oh, thank you. Pardon me, thank you. She said, seems I don't know my throat.
Well, it's dry. Take another swallow. Take another swallow. You talking. Better?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't know why it's so hard. She said, I was born at Margaret Haig. I said, I had my nurse's training at Margaret Haig. Margaret Haig is a maternity hospital named after the governor there, and people from all over the world do come there for training. That is when I was there.
Wow.
And I graduated in 1951 from the medical center itself. So she said, the breakfast was over. She said, we have a concert at Heather Gardens at 10. Would you come? And she said, my husband will come and pick you up, just across the street. Mm-hmm. And so I said yes. And I go there. There's my neighbor across from me out in the hall. I didn't know she was going. And the next row was a female who came to Dugan's memorial that we had. Mm-hmm. I mean, and then next to me was another woman said, I remember you. And I said, oh, from where? She said, you taught my daughter ROTC.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I couldn't believe. And so on that Saturday, she said, we're having a Vietnam veterans meeting in Southwest Denver. Would you like to go? We'll pick you up. And since then, I've been going to veteran meetings with them who are across the street. And I haven't been able to drive because December 22.
Oh, I know about this.
I didn't have an incident that happened. January 23, I received a letter from Colorado Department of Revenue saying Division of Motor Vehicles said you can't drive unless you have a doctor give their permission or recommendation. And that's since December of 22. And here it is, April 18, and she says I can't drive. But everyone says to me, well, you shouldn't drive, but I feel certainly capable, strong enough, able to see. And
it's not nice to have things taken away.
I know, because I lose my independence. Mm-hmm. I'm depending on people. Wow. I mean, and I don't want to do that. It's just unfair. Across the street is a Navy veteran. She's about 5'2".
Jerry?
No, not Jan. Her name is Kelly.
Oh,
Vicki Kelly. She was in the Navy in World War II. Driving at 101, and they won't let me drive at 96. And I think that's unfair. And I said, I need another opinion, and I need another physician, because it's taken away. I know it's a privilege to drive, but I think it's a necessity, and I'm not a harm to people. I have not received any citations. Or, in fact, USA has said, we're giving, they call it a senior bonus.
Oh, USAA?
But, yes,
car insurance.
They return money to you for not having to pay for damages that you've caused.
Yes,
so,
yeah, you get a little check every year.
You do,
mm-hmm.
Right, yes. So I think it's unfair. So I asked, may I have another opinion? May I have because the letter from the Department of Revenue says you can have your physician, an optometrist, or a nurse practitioner.
And no one has done that for you yet?
No, I'm still fighting it. And I think it's unfair. I think it's unfair.
Have you had your visual exam?
Pardon?
Have you had your visual exam?
Have you had your eyes checked already?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. They're fine. And I have PT, and she said, you passed everything physically.
Right.
Yeah.
So will the eye doctor not write you a letter?
The what?
The eye doctor.
Will they not
Oh,
write
I
you
have
a
his
letter?
report saying.
That you're good to go.
But I was told, put another letter into the the patient advocate, and I got a letter that they're going to give me another doctor.
Good.
And with the other reports, physical therapy, and the technological quiz on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
I
yeah.
even passed that, and that's unfair because I don't do quizzes, and I'm sure it's designed for young men who.
It probably is designed for young men. Most tests are.
But she said I passed it, but I haven't done a demonstration on the road.
Okay.
And-
Will they give
And,
you one at the
but it was
DMV?
scheduled, but it has not taken place yet.
Okay.
And it just, thank heavens, had it not been to, well, how do I pronounce your name?
Anit.
Anit. He picked me up to bring me here. And to think the VA, for volunteers to do all this, for all the people and it's great that they get an idea of what, no matter what level or branch or what you're in, there's so much to be done, and people who do so much volunteer, and they give up so much of their time, and they're so willing. Every time you walk through the door, they're wanting to know, what can I help you do? Where are you going? It's unreal. I live at a senior citizen retirement, and there are many veterans, and I ask them, do you go to VA? And I can't believe the attitude of some people, instead of being grateful and thankful, because there's so much that people want to do, and they do,
Yeah, but
and
not
they
everyone
help.
has your wonderful attitude and appreciation for life.
That's it, because every day is such a blessing, such a treasure. There's so much. You're driving along, look at the trees, they're buds, and the next day there's a flower of it, and then it goes on to be fruit, and it beautifies everything. There's so much. So much. Every day is so much to be alive and thankful for.
It is. Well, I am thankful that I met you and that I got to interview you and that you are still here. Thank you so much for
and
coming.
when you think our paths, even though we weren't there at the same time, how
We
it's
were in the
crossed.
same places. Yes.
That's what you find out. Just talking to people, there's always a connection in some way.
That's
you can
right.
find. It's there.
But not everybody
And
looks. Not everyone looks.
No, they don't. They don't. And that smiling.
But you do. You look. Thank you so much, Martha.
Thank you all for everything they've done, and especially, here, and that it's his. Well,
He's
of
pretty
him that
amazing too. Yes.
Yeah, right, to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate it. And then he came and I didn't meet you when I was here before.
Now Ben is new.
Yeah, I'm new.
Where are you?
I'm going to the University of Denver, and I'm commissioned in the Army in a month and a half.
Oh, you. Oh.
Yeah, go Army, right, Martha?
Did
I'm
you
Army
know
veteran.
about the nurse that they were having? They had that at I forgot the name of the hall at DU. This was about a month ago.
Oh, I didn't know this.
No, yeah,
Yeah, Martha is up on everything.
No, not really.
You are. I'm telling you. Okay, Martha.
Oh,
Thanks
thank you,
so
Susan.
much.
Thank you.
Here, let me. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
It's been a
Thank you.
real pleasure,
Yeah,
and I
did
can't
you
wait
hear
to
you
see
call
you
me
again.
yesterday?
Yeah.
Started now. Okay, so there we go.
When do I say my name?
As part of her intro statement.
How loud shall I speak?
As long as you want.
How loud?
Oh, as loud as you can.
As loud as I can.
So Martha, here's a few tips. One is, so it may be tempting to skip ahead, but we have a lot of questions.
Okay.
So whenever Suzanne asks you a question, only answer that. So don't skip too much ahead.
Okay.
Otherwise, we have to go back.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if she asks about your childhood, just only talk about that. Don't talk about joining the service yet.
Okay.
Because I'll get to it. I'll ask
we'll-
you all the
We'll
questions.
get to everything. So
Okay.
don't skip too far ahead.
Okay.
And Suzanne, anything that we want to do all military service at the beginning, and then like personal stuff will be after that.
Right, except
Yeah.
for the part about your
Yeah,
early
of course.
childhood.
Of course. Yeah. You got this.
Yep, you got it.
Okay,
And
so
then Martha, one more thing. So this is Kyle. Kyle may
Can you
also.
speak a little louder, though? If you
Little
do-
louder.
Oh, a little
No,
louder.
I could hear you then. I could, but I mean,
Well, yeah. So
Oh, I don't have my
so
hearing aids.
Kyle is going to be another interviewer, but she will ask a question once in a while.
Yeah,
Yes.
Kyle may ask you a question once in a while.
Or either any one of us might.
Okay.
So,
All right.
Because you're so interesting, Mark.
Yeah. So
So let's just do a check for a minute. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yes,
I just
can.
want to make sure.
Yes.
Because it's super important.
Yes.
yeah, could you?
Yep. Just
You want me to scoot my whole body or?
no, it's fine. Yeah. So I think that's fine.
So Martha, look this way. Look at the orange sticky
Okay.
note for the
Yes.
most part, or look at Kyle,
Oh,
and of course
okay.
look at Suzanne once in a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, now that we're
I'll wave at you over here.
Okay.
To signal you to look towards this way.
okay. Now
right,
that
you
we're
got-
completely confused, we'll get started.
All right, you guys may begin.
So nice.
So, yeah, I
I'm
want
sorry.
to do a thumbnail.
A thumbnail?
So we're still recording, but Martha, if you could.
Could you put this next to her?
Okay.
Martha, you have to be the one holding it.
Pardon
Oh,
me?
we want you to hold it. Give me this. And look for his directions. Ben will tell you.
So we can see the full photo. So we can hold it in front of this.
So go, maybe hold it like this,
Okay.
if you can. There you go.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay.
Then you hold it, just twist it a little bit towards this way. That's correct.
Suzanne, how about you come up and
So that looks good, and then we'll have you just move it a little bit more to just the photo, not your face.
Oh.
Just move the photo straight.
Yep, and then we'll straighten it up.
There.
I think that's great.
That's good.
Yep. Okay. Great.
and give a serious look?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
give
know
us a
you're very
serious-
happy, but yes. Can you hold it one more time like it was, or just give a more
Give a serious look. It just it's like you're taking an army photo look.
Pardon me?
Like you're taking an army photo. Just stone face look. There you go.
I think that's
Perfect.